All righty. What's up, everybody? Let's let everybody get in here for the next minute. Let's share this if we can. If you want to, let everyone else know that we're out here and doing it live. What's up, Combo?
I'm doing well. How are you, Coach Nick?
I'm okay. I'm just still trying to adjust from getting back from Florida for 5 days and then also losing an hour on Sunday. That was not fun. Does that happen to you too?
Yeah, I mean, jet lag is a real thing. I remember I went to Singapore once and I was only there for 2 days. That was ridiculous. I couldn't see straight for my time there.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me. I gotta do something else here while we're waiting. But let's just see if anybody else wants to get in here before they miss.
What did you do in Orlando besides basketball? Did you?
Oh, it was a lot.
I think I'm going soon, so that's why I'm asking.
Oh, okay. Well, Orlando was pretty much all whatchamacallit. Hang on, let me do this. Was all basketball, basically. Let me just button and then this button and then next and then I remember this. Yeah, sorry. There's a thing that YouTube makes you now do. Anyway, so yeah, Orlando was pretty much all basketball the whole time. We got there. I flew on a red eye, and that's the other problem. So I did a red eye Saturday night, Sunday morning, and then we went pretty much to the game from there. I got a great interview with Damian Lillard. So don't listen to JJ Redick's podcast. I have the definitive answer about his shooting and the weird thing with the fingers that everybody wanted to ask about. And the only reason why JJ asked about it was because of my tweets. So, anyway, watch that. It'll be on Friday. I'm getting that already. So we did the interview with Dame, had a great time, saw some of the Magic players who I think I'm going to get some interviews with coming up soon. So stay tuned for that. I got on the court with Chip Clark, who is an NBA or who's a ref who we talk a lot about on Twitter. And I interact with him a lot about rules. We also had a really great IG guy who's a ref and a demonstrator of really funky footwork. So we got some really good stuff there. And it was all basketball all the time. Orlando, I liked Orlando. It was a great place.
Yeah, I stopped by on a cruise once. I thought it was pretty nice. I didn't get to hang out too long, but it just seems like a nice place. The weather's usually good. So, yeah, there's good vibes in Orlando. And I cover the Magic for the Believe Network. So shouts to the Magic, man. All
right. Well, I'm going to share this real quick, and then we'll go live. Or we'll start doing a normal recording here. Let me tag you in there so you can see it. There's by the way, Combo, there's a way for you to share this show to stream on your platforms.
Let me know. That'd be awesome.
We should
have been doing that for years.
Well, they just now added it on StreamYard, so you will now be able to. And I put the setting. I don't know exactly what you do to do that, but if you ever figure it out, there's a way that says you can blast this out now as a guest to all your socials. But I don't know.
See it. I wish I could.
All right. Anyway, maybe somebody who knows this already in the comments will tell you how to do it. But let's start the show. Here we go. Hey, sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown live show. As always, coming at you on a Wednesday or a Thursday, whatever day we kind of feel we have the time. I'm always joined by Combo. Combo, great to have you here. Good to see you.
All is well, Coach Nick, man. Good to see you too. I know you were traveling. We didn't get to do this week, last week, and I'm happy we're back at it this week.
Yes. It was a long week. I was hanging out with my dad in Florida. I was having a great time and certainly enjoying the 80-degree weather there versus the 50 degrees and raining for 15 hours straight like we have here in LA. So I'm waiting. It's unprecedented what the weather we're dealing with right now. I know a lot of people in the rest of the country are probably not feeling sorry for me, but man, it's rough.
It was snowing here yesterday, so.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Enjoyed that snow. Listen, I don't mind snow. I don't like the 50-degree raining weather. That's when it gets into your bones. But we had a lot to talk about since the last time we were here. The news that came out with Ja Morant, he was holding a gun in a video, I guess, was his main thing, the infraction, I suppose. And he's now in some version of a rehab, it sounds like, with an 8-game suspension. What are your thoughts about this?
To be honest, Coach Nick, I don't have any crazy insight or crazy take. I usually keep it basketball for the most part. The worst thing he did in all of this, I mean, a lot of the stuff, there's a lot of things that came out, but all of it is alleged. I don't know what happened. I don't know what didn't happen, but you got to be careful when you're playing with guns. And if you're playing with guns, definitely don't put it on IG Live, right? I think that's a
good point.
I think that's really what it comes down to. I don't think this is the downfall of Ja Morant, like some people are saying. I found it interesting that everybody was so excited to talk about this. everybody jumped on and got all their takes off. I saw Gilbert Arenas had a pretty good take. That was interesting, but it's like, I don't know. It felt like people were happy to see this, and I wasn't too happy to see it. And I just hope for the best when it comes to John Morant. And I think he'll be back playing basketball, and I think everything will be okay with him.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird because it's like, there are a lot of states in the union that allow you to have open carry guns, and there isn't necessarily a law that you cannot have a gun on a video and whatever that means. Although I think there might be some other story, whatever the other thing is. I didn't even pay attention to it. But, obviously the league has an image to protect. And if they can't afford to lose people and turn people off and not have them buy their stuff and stream their games and all that stuff. So I get why they want to protect that as much as possible and don't want to be associated with, people who are, holding violent weapons that can kill people. So I get that. I'm not exactly sure what the whole thing is with him going down to Florida is and what that means and what that's going to work on with him necessarily in a professional setting. But I suppose we'll get a little bit more information and whatever. But I do think that it's a problem in the sense that with Memphis, you don't want to lose your best player for 8 games right before the playoffs start, where you want to be getting geared up and ramped up for the biggest games of the season.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. You don't want to lose them, but gladly for them, they will get him back before the playoffs. Like, this thing was up in the air. Nobody knew if he was returning or not. I thought he would be back by the playoffs. I remember telling a friend that I thought he would be back, but it was up in the air for a while. But now at least they have some kind of timeline for his return.
Okay. Well, we have our first super chat of the day, and I have to tell you that it's really, really helpful to keep the lights on and keep us doing this show. So thank you so much. If you want your question put on the screen and answered, actually, then super chat on YouTube is the way to go. And we have a friend of the breakdown, Age of Brevity. Thank you so much for the super chat. And from Canada, again, all the Canadians I know are always the nicest people in the world. So thank you. Will Luka develop into a better defender? I'm glad. Let's take a left turn and get to another subject here. My answer, I guess, would be no. What do you think, Combo?
Wow, no. I hope with time, Luka takes his off seasons more seriously. I think it was great for him that he played Eurobasket this season because he did come into the season in shape, but he does have to take conditioning more seriously because we see in fourth quarters he drops off a little bit. I think a big part of it is the roster they build around him, so it won't be as much of a heliocentric offense, so he won't take as much of his bandwidth on the offensive side, so it leaves him a little bit of bandwidth for the defensive side. What do you think, Coach Nick?
I agree. I mean, listen, he's so good offensively. He doesn't need to be a lockdown defender on the other end because he's always going to be a net positive across the game generally. I am a little bit surprised. This is the same thing we saw with like LeBron, for instance, where teams don't like really just go at him. And I'm trying to picture even in my mind's eye, like in the playoffs last couple of years, I can't picture like bring his man up in the pick and roll. I mean, maybe I do, and I am picturing that now. And they just would mercilessly attack him in the pick and roll, let those point guards blow by him every time. But they should be doing that, and they should have been doing it to LeBron all those years, and they didn't. And they, whenever there were little cracks in the armor with LeBron where you'd see him not really wanting to play defense, certainly not wanting to play defense in a low post situation, and yet teams really wouldn't put him in those situations at all. It was always a little bit head scratching to me. So I would definitely do that if I were whoever's playing Dallas in the first round. And at least find out right away how that's going to work for you, because you can get him into foul trouble, you can get easy buckets, you can get him frustrated and off his game on the other end. It seems like there isn't a lot of risk to doing that.
Yeah, I mean, look, Michael Jordan was an anomaly. To be the best offensive player and have that much bandwidth on the defensive side, you never, ever see that too much. I mean, Kawhi had that one season in Toronto where it was like that, but those guys didn't even have the usage rate of Luka Doncic. So it's very hard to have that kind of load on offense and just have all this kind of energy for the defensive side.
I mean, listen, Michael Jordan will be playing you the world's smallest violin on that one. But I hear you. And also there's an injury issue too, the way the game is played right now. It's just the nature of it, whether or not it's players are different than they were back in the day when they didn't have as many catastrophic injuries, or even just, injuries that last 15 games at a time. That is the baseline now. But players get injured more often for whatever reason, and to protect against that, defense is one of those areas where you can dial it down a little bit and then save your body so you're not going to be on the bench more than you have to be. So I get it. It's fine. And again, you're talking about one of the top players in the world of all time. So he doesn't have to be great on defense, but and as a result, I don't even know if I feel like he's been terrible defensively. I just think that you're right. What he does. What he would improve with lateral movement wise and explosiveness would be directly related to him being in better shape and actually training better, probably getting less body fat and just being more of an explosive athlete. He's got sneaky athletic ability. He does seem like it gets buried a little bit, underneath the exterior that he needs to trim down a little bit.
Yes, he's definitely a better athlete than people think he is. I mean, he's very strong. He has great deceleration, great body control around the rim. Mm-hmm. He's not the slowest guy in the world. He just plays at his own pace. Like if you watch Luka Doncic chase down a loose ball, which he doesn't do all the time, but what he does, like he can move his feet. He's a good athlete. He's not an elite NBA athlete, but he's a good enough athlete to be a good defender, and hopefully he improves upon it over time.
Yeah, absolutely. And that just reminds me, I want to bring up there's another video I got to get done really soon. So let's just think here. I'm almost done. I'm doing a video on Klay being the guy that would realistically break the 3-point record that he owns right now at 14. And we've seen recently in the last couple months, him go on some heaters where he'll have like 8.5. He had 12 against OKC. He had 12 against Houston. He had 10 against Houston earlier in the year. And then he went off for 8 in the first half against Phoenix and then didn't hit another one. So let me ask you this real quick. Do you think that I think that someone's going to get 20 in a game? What do you think?
Yeah, and I think your Klay take is spot on. We all know that Steph Curry is the greatest shooter to ever play in the NBA, but I'm not sure if he's more flammable than Klay Thompson. When Klay Thompson is hot, there's nothing like it. We've seen him drop 38 in a quarter. He just gets so hot, it's ridiculous.
And he's not the guy, like I was thinking of, in another era, he'd be Kyle Korver. He'd be Rip Hamilton, to some degree. The guy, well, Rip did dribble the ball off or shoot off the dribble a little bit, but like a lot of those guys simply would never, ever dribble the ball. They would only do catch and shoot threes. But Klay gets his fair share now of off the dribble threes and creating that way. And that's when he really gets on a heater. And then he'll do some sort of ISO. So he had set like in those 3 games against Phoenix, OKC, and Houston. I targeted those 3. He had 7 like YOLO heat checks, ISO threes off the dribble. Basically, he hit 6 of them, and they're all, I think every one of them was like, okay, timeout. We got to get this guy cooled down. So that's a little thing that separates him from, like in the days of yore, the guys who were a lot like him who wouldn't shoot off the dribble like that. And I agree. I think the thing with Curry is if you're going to make 20 threes, you're going to have to take 25, 26, right? I don't think that Curry can get 26 threes off. There's too much focus on him. They jam him on the pick and rolls, get the ball out of his hands a lot. But for that reason, it's why Klay could do it. Now that's the other question. How many shots do you think you need to be able to make 20 threes in a game?
For Klay, it would take a lot. I think pretty much what you said, around 25, 26. I think another player to mention in all this is like Rip is a great one because I think if he was playing now, he'd be shooting more threes. And he'd be able to do some of that from the 3-point area. I think he just played an era where that wasn't common. But Reggie Miller was another guy that if he played now, he'd probably maybe be able to get there. He was super flammable himself. He just didn't have the volume like a Klay Thompson.
Oh, yeah. Well, Edey Johnson was like that, too. By the way, Del Curry could have done it. Del Curry was hot like Steph Curry, like Klay Thompson was. I mean, you know what I mean? Del could get on benders too, and it was so fast his release. It was not, but he'd do a little bit more from mid-range stuff. But there's no question. I think he could have done that from 3-point line too.
You know who's underrated in this regard because everybody looks at him as a showman? Pistol Pete. I mean, he averaged 44 without the 3-point line. He was shooting a lot of deep threes in college. He dropped 68 in the NBA. So who knows what he could have done in this era?
Yeah, I mean, again, if he was the point of attack, that's the sticking point, A. And then B, if you're hitting 15, 16 threes, most likely you're up by a lot and you're not going to be able to play the whole game. Like I think that's the other issue we've seen with like Steph not being able to get like into the 80s for some of those games. They look like he would because they're up by a lot. So all those things have to align. And that's why when Kobe got the 81, that game was close and that was important. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't have played the full minutes either because that would have been a blowout. We have another super chat. Thank you so much from Hop Hayes. I think this is a new super chat from a new user. So thank you so much for being part of the show. Let's get the random questions out of the way. Where do you see my boy Zach Edey going in the draft? Oh, man. Thanks for the content, dudes. Okay. I don't know, Zach. Is it Edey or Edey? Do you know how to say it?
You can pronounce it either way. He's 7'5". He's an interesting draft prospect. It depends on how they do in the tournament, right? March Madness bump is real, but, I do think it's another Taco Fall situation where it's just going to be tough to play him, 25 minutes a game, 30 minutes a game. I don't think his type of game translates in the NBA too well. First of all, you got to be able to guard anybody. Here's the two questions. Can you guard anybody? Can you guard everybody? And I don't think he can. I don't think you're going to, revolve your offense around Zach Edey post touches. So it's just going to be very difficult for him to play in the NBA. I wish the best for him. Hopefully he goes late first round, but I think he's a second round guy.
I remember this now. Now I have in my mind's eye a little bit of from like maybe last year a memory of him. And yeah, I mean, listen, the kind of players like that don't tend to get a lot of that kind of run in the NBA. Go down, command the ball, low post. I mean, Embiid does it. Not even Jokic really does it like that, and Vucevic, they all come out to the perimeter now,
Şengün,
yeah, okay, he might be the one, okay, but I wouldn't even think Edey in my mind is even like less athletic or less
yes.
And more about like, I'm just going to drop step, shoot over you. And so, whatever, we'll have to find that out. I would be surprised though if he gets a situation where he'd be allowed to get his 10 post-ups a game and really be able to show that part of it. And then also, what's going to happen when they start having him play pick and roll and have to go side to side. That's going to be an interesting thing. I don't remember in my mind's eye. He's not quick, right?
He's slow. He's slow-footed. I mean, he's skilled. He has a nice touch around the rim. But, I've been talking about this a lot on my podcast. It's not about being a really good NBA player. I mean, being a really good basketball player anymore. You could be a really good basketball player, but if you don't fit an NBA niche, you're not going to play in the NBA. Even if you're a top 400, 500 player in the world, if you're a 5'11" bucket getter, like Mike James to me is a top 400 player in the world, in my opinion. But he doesn't fit an NBA niche. He doesn't fit well around other star players, and that's what it's all about at the NBA level if you're not a star.
Yeah, and when Mike James got a little bit of run with the Nets, and I felt like he did fine. I don't know why he necessarily needed to leave that quickly. He could have stayed and then found a little bit of a thing. But you're right. What he can do in EuroLeague now is a lot more than he can do in the NBA. I'm sure he's treated more like a star there, which is nice, and I'm sure he gets paid more as well. So all those things would factor into him going there. 8-seam ball. I need to get one. I'm going to order one because I have a feeling that the 8-seam ball that the EuroLeague uses and the FIBA uses is maybe easier to control and might be a different shooting experience. You have experience with that. What do you think?
Yeah, I play with it. I always felt it was very easy to dunk with. I always felt like I had more bounce with that basketball. Maybe it's because I could palm it easier. When you get into rhythm with it, it's very nice. I love that basketball. It felt a little small, but that was a good thing. So
it feels small. Because with 8 seams, then the panels are smaller, and so you can now grip it better. I remember when I was growing up, I could just about palm a real NBA ball back in the 80s, which are not like they are now. And I have to mention the channel was deeper back then. I think that's the difference now. The leather was probably a little bit different. It felt so good, and I felt like Dr. J when I play with the NBA ball. And now the ball is like really hard, and then the channels are kind of shallower, so it's not as grippable. And I do think that there's something about that could affect a lot of things, maybe even the bounce on the rim with the extra panels. So for sure, there's something there, which also just creates a difference in FIBA. Maybe I'll do a video on that as well. If you didn't see it, I did a video already describing why it's harder to score in EuroLeague than it is in the NBA, as per Doncic and Jokic and Giannis all said that. So I kind of was able to show why that was.
Was that the video Combo was supposed to be on, but he wasn't? Oh, man.
I guess so. Yeah. I got a small window and my hair's on fire every time I'm trying to do a video. Like I was supposed to get one done today. The Dame was supposed to come out on, earlier. Everything is, welcome to my life as a YouTuber and a member of a family. and a human that needs sleep. So
speaking of YouTube and family, Space Jam is now streaming on YouTube for free. It's pretty cool.
I heard it was terrible, wasn't it?
No. The first one.
Oh, well, I mean, that one I've seen, but it's okay. I did do a breakdown of that. You can go on my channel and watch that. I broke down Space Jam, the basketball and Space Jam.
I will watch that. I'll actually watch that with my son. I will watch
that was fun. Although, I do allude to the fact that they were giving them PEDs at halftime, which is what that special.
It was water. It was.
I don't know. It wasn't like in a spray. I don't know. Anyway, so we have another super chat. My goodness gracious, from Zeka. Thank you so much, Zeka, friend of the breakdown. What's the Warriors' biggest issues on the road? Is it mainly the defense? How do they flip that switch on the road when they are so dominant at home? Okay, so it is the defense. Although, you know what? It might be worth me just checking really quickly because I know, and I'll give you the updated numbers because I had it maybe a week and a half ago. They were what the ratings were defensively and the splits at home versus away. I know defensively. Let's get that going real quick. Let's see here. Right now, overall, the Warriors in the defense is ranked 14th average, okay, at 113.4. At home, where is it? All locations. At home, if you do this, they are ranked. What? Oh, okay. Well, they've gotten worse at home now. Now they're ranked. Wait, let me make sure that's right. Sometimes this doesn't always refresh properly. Oh, yeah, good. I'm glad I did that because it looked like it refreshed, but it didn't. They're ranked 3rd in the league at home versus all the other teams at home. Okay, so they're all stacked that same way. 3rd at 108. They're like a completely elite defensive team at home. And if you look at it on the road and then hit the button so I know, make sure they see that, they are 28th in the league. That's like, and I have my guys at oh my goodness! At
Second Spectrum,
Bucket List fans, the Bucket List fans, go there on Twitter. You can follow them. He's got an incredible database. I had him look it up, and he's going to get me more data. I don't think there's anybody who's ever had a bigger dichotomy between home and away defensive rating. It's insane how big that is. 3rd or 28th. That is it. That's the whole ball game right there. Because offensively, let's just look at the offensive rating. At home or on the road, they're 16th, and at home. They are 13th. That's fascinating. So they're very consistent at home. By the way, let me just say overall here, I thought they were ranked higher. I guess without Steph playing for a bunch of those games, they're only ranked 14th in offense. So you can argue that there is an issue there as well, but certainly there's no difference between them on home or a road. It is the defense. Now, this is the big question that we have to kind of figure out. And I'm going to do a video on this next week as I start to try and figure out what's going on because it doesn't make sense, right? Why would they play defense differently on the road? Do you have a take on this one?
They're not as motivated for some reason. When I actually watch them play, the eye test tells me that they're just not playing as hard on defense. And that's a lot what defense has to do with. I don't know if they're tired when on the road. I don't know what it is. I know the situation with Wiggins is, man, it's kind of crazy because I think Coward went on TV and said like there's a chance he won't return at all. So that's going to be a big hit to their defense in the playoffs. Yeah,
I haven't really wanted to find that out if even if I could. Someone was saying that like if it's his wife or people in his family are posting normally on their accounts, so it doesn't seem like it's some sort of family-wide issue that he's dealing with. So I don't know. And you're right. If without him, forget about it. They're not going to get out of the first round, I don't think. And that's a big issue too, without having him, because defensively he does so many things for them that are great. But we know that teams play better offensively at home. So that's something, right? Like, and then you're on the road, you're going to play the team that's going to play better offensively. That's one thing. But I think if we pull it apart, we'll probably see a couple different things. And I would hate to say it's like they're not mentally tough. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to make the NBA, you are very mentally tough. That shouldn't be a thing where the team-wide, it all falls apart. So I don't know. I mean, I have to look at it, but I would imagine a lot could have to do with like 3-point percentage is a lot higher. But again, it's higher because they're at home and like they feel more comfortable. They shoot better. That's a fact. So why would that be that much different than for the Warriors than anybody else? So we'll tease some numbers out coming up and trying to figure out a little bit more of it. But they very well could just be the thing where they have certain defensive baseline fundamentals that they're doing that maybe they get away with at home. because those teams on the road aren't going to shoot as well, even though they get the open shots. And then at home, they don't work. And that's an interesting thing that they need to change. That would be the one thing I would almost think that is happening, because otherwise it's you're playing the same defense. You're drilling the same defense, the same rotations. Why would it be so different?
Yeah, I think, Steve Kerr is usually pretty transparent about his team. I wonder what his thoughts are and if anybody asked him about this yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think he might tell you something about like just mentally tough, mental toughness, and I don't know. I would love to think that those guys that can get to the NBA, they're mentally tough. They don't just sort of fall apart just because they're on the road. And by the way, where I would see that having an effect would be the offense, not the defense. So it's a really weird thing. And I'm pretty sure my guys are going to tell me when they do all the numbers. Unless they did, I can't look at. My brain is so foggy with all the time change and the whatever travel. He might have already told me that no one's ever had that big of a difference. In the league, I got to look. It really is an anomaly. Which, by the way, maybe with a little extra practice in between the regular season and the playoffs, they can kind of tune that up a little bit and figure it out. But I got to tell you, I'm sure that they'd pay a lot of money to figure out what it is. And if I can do it in the next week or so and come up with a real solid solution, but it's really, really strange, and it's only their defense. But then, which is a good point about looking at all the numbers, is that I don't think I realized how low their offensive rating is. That needs to change. And that said, I think with Curry now being back and having the consistent minutes, I can't believe. Actually, let's check the last since he's been back, because that's got to be higher.
In your opinion, are the Warriors still legit title contenders?
Only with only completely fully healthy. Only. Okay. So he's been back for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. So in the last 5 games, let's look at this. The Warriors are ranked. Oh, come back here. Last 5 games. Get stats. The Warriors on offense in the last 5 games. They're ranked 23rd, but there's a bunch of teams here who are just lighting it up. But that said, their offensive rating is 112.6, which is still not very impressive. In the last 5 games, the Sixers are at 129.7 and the Kings are 124. They're going crazy. But even still, if you look at what the Warriors numbers are, 112.6 isn't going to cut it. So they have some things to figure out in a hurry. But again, if they can figure that out and they get Wiggins back, then you have to give them a legitimate shot at getting to the finals. That's going to have to be on the table, but not the way this is going right now.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at their home record, the optimistic approach to this could be that they have a high ceiling. Like, they play pretty well when they're at home, and if they could play like that in the playoffs and get everybody back in the lineup, they got a chance. The other thing is the West is wide open, so there's like 7 teams that could win the West. So there's a bunch of teams that are still optimistic.
Okay, yeah. Well, we got somebody in the comments I've been noticing. We're gonna have to light them up a little bit. Do you mind, Combo?
What'd he say?
We got someone, the talker, maybe he's from Europe, and is talking about how, okay, first he says the EuroLeague ball is nicer to play with. Okay, good. I like that. EuroLeague arrow system is the best thing ever. Is that the jump ball? That arrow system? Is that what he's talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, college has that too. NBA refs are really bad at not calling traveling. Well, that's kind of nonsense. They really are great at understanding what the rules are. And I spent a lot of time on Twitter explaining why it's not a travel by rule. And by the way, when I did the EuroLeague thing, I saw all sorts of blatant travels that the EuroLeague refs let go. So you can't tell me that they're like great at it either, right? Like they are letting stuff go left and right.
No, wait. The NBA is an actual jump ball, right?
Yeah, they actually jump it.
Yeah. No. I think in Europe there's alternate. No jump. Yeah, it's alternate, like college, right?
Yeah, like college. Yeah, in high school. So whatever, but yeah. So the traveling thing, it's not an argument. Sorry. NBA teams are bad on defense. Europe teams are not. I gotta tell you, whenever I go through EuroLeague footage, Combo, I think I said this before. The biggest takeaway I get is how bad the defense is, how bad the rotations, intentionally, how bad the rotations are. It's mind-numbing.
What I'm telling you is that it's just a different reality over there, which sounds like philosophical and nonsense, but they just grew up playing basketball totally differently. Like, their schemes are just absolutely different. So they look at over here as total nonsense, right? It's all perception.
But it's results. It's like, look at what you're doing. You're giving up open threes because you're nexting these pick and rolls by being out of position. I just can't understand it.
The only way to solve it is have interplay games.
Yeah. Okay. Great. I gotta tell you, and I give one of my buddies, Christian Pelotti, so much crap in the DMs. He does play-by-play for Europe EuroLeague games, he does the play-by-play for NBA games in Finland. Oh crap, he's in the game. Yeah, is it Finland? Wherever he's from in that area of the world.
What's his name? That's a cool job. What's his name?
Christian Pelotti, Palotie. I interact with him. You'll see him on Twitter. He's great. And so I give him so much crap because I'm like, how can you play this way? And if you tried that in the NBA, they would just light it up every possession. And by the way, I'm pointing it out because they light it up in the EuroLeague too, and they don't change. It's crazy to me. I don't know if I can do that video, unfortunately, because the EuroLeague is helping. Is not quite sponsoring the videos I'm doing recently, but they obviously. I'm not going to do like a negative light them on fire thing. But if I can figure out a way to do it where the good and the bad and make it really balanced, I might do that. But I you won't believe it if I did the video. If I could explain what I'm seeing consistently, I think you would agree. I would hope, based on the evidence, that there's just really crazy stuff going on.
No, this is what you should do. You should have a EuroLeague coach come on the live show.
Yeah.
And then bring up plays and say what's happening here. And he'll probably be able to explain things to you, in a way that people from America can't.
Yeah. No. Okay. Fantastic idea. Maybe I should just go to Europe and we'll do it in person.
Yes. That'd be great. Yeah.
Because I'm threatening to do that anyway now that we're in 2023. So I might actually do that anyway and figure out how to make that happen. But that's the best idea I've heard all week, Combo. So thank you for that one. Because you're right. Like, yeah, maybe he would convince me, I suppose. But I don't know. I've seen enough help pass away off the corners to know that's not a good idea.
Yeah. Look, man, when I first went overseas, a lot of it didn't make sense, right? And then, over time, I'm like, I see certain things a little bit differently. That's what I'm saying. And you might not agree with them, but you might be able to see their side of things in a better light.
Yeah, I'm a kind of a defensive snob, if you will, because if I see it and it doesn't work for me, I'm calling that out. I'm like, this is, and I get upset. I get upset about certain things that violate my, the principles I think I've amassed. By the way, it was funny. I was at the Clippers game on Saturday against the Knicks, and and Russ misses a layup in transition going too fast. There's an open layup, a right-handed layup, and everyone's like, it groans, whatever. And then he does it again. It was worse the second time. And I kind of started to get up like I was going to leave the arena. Like I really was it violated everything. I couldn't believe that I had seen them do it again. And then meanwhile, Lou doesn't play him in the fourth quarter, hardly at all. It's certainly not during crunch time. And that's what I've been trying to tell everybody about that is, and I think Russ was good. He made some good passes. He finished some shots. He was good. But you can't have him in there like that. And I literally, I started to get up. Like I didn't even know what I was doing instinctually. And I was literally like to get out to leave because it was such an affront, but to miss so many, multiple layups in transition when you're open. We have another super chat from a friend of the breakdown, Pimp named Slickback. Thank you so much, Pimp. Hey fellas, you guys heard me crying all summer about my Nets. What's your thoughts? I love me some Mikal Bridges. I have hope again. They're fun, right? They're kind of fun. No one's expecting a lot of them. They're not necessarily winning a ton, right? Last I checked, it wasn't great. Let me just look at the last couple here. The Nets, they're in sixth place and they're 5-5, so they're kind of back and forth and trying to figure some things out. But certainly, Mikal Bridges has been unlocked.
Yeah, look, I tweeted this mid-February and I just reposted on my Instagram. Mikal Bridges no longer plays for a contender, but he's in a better spot to expand his game, and that's what happened. Like he's getting opportunities, getting more in-game reps with the basketball. In his other role in Phoenix, he, all they needed from him was defense, threes, and maybe some straight line drives. He didn't get a lot of opportunity to create, but now he has that opportunity to create and he's thriving.
Yeah, I got to do a video on this too. There's no shortage, which is great because I think there was a while there in the season where I was like struggling to come up with a good idea, and now I have they're all backed up, and I'm trying to get to them and struggle. So be prepared for a bunch to kind of come out. Of course, I have to go out of town next week again, and I'm going to miss some time, but be prepared for this to ramp up going forward, sports fans, because I have a lot to get out. I want to get it out before the season ends. But yeah, Mikal Bridges, if you look at the last of his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of his last 7 games, he's hit 30 plus in 6 of them. or 5.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with a 25 piece and a win over Denver on one of those. So he's really, I mean, this is a little bit unprecedented because we've always talked about this in the sense that like a lot of players are really good and don't get a chance, right? The 10th man on a team and never get a chance could light it up if he got to play like Luka or like Harden. Not everybody, because that's a different animal who can do that kind of thing. But a lot of these guys could probably fill it up if they, for whatever reason, could get out of the doghouse or get into the rotation and, contract wise, playing wise, whatever it is. And Bridges, I don't know. It was funny. I don't know if I felt like I don't know if I would have been able to predict this. I loved his game, and I felt like we'd seen flashes in the finals of him being able to do some real scoring. But then I would see other instances where it wasn't going great. But then you realize, yeah, he'd probably shoot once with like 10, 15 minutes in between each shot. That ain't easy, right?
Yeah, to your point about like there's a bunch of players that could fill it up. Now, if we give a lot of NBA players the keys, they'll be able to average 20-plus points. But does that player having the keys give your team the best chance to win? Like, that's what it is. Like, yes, they could put the numbers up, but can they put the numbers up and give their team the best chance to win? So, if you give Cam Thomas the ball and a lot of playing time, which he should get more playing time, he could get 30-point games, right?
Right.
But are you going to win games with Cam Thomas being your go-to scorer? Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, But having hope is good. I mean, they might have something here where they can kind of develop some stuff and then be very competitive. Again, title contenders, no, but like it's fun to have that. Now, the talker wants to at least say that can we agree that TV breaks in the NBA game suck? And absolutely, that's a problem. I went with a buddy of mine and his son who's in 7th grade who he likes basketball. I'm actually training him, but he doesn't like watching the games. And he said, he's like, if they didn't have timeouts, I would love it. And it's just like it takes too long. It interrupts the flow. And I love that about FIBA is the timeouts are really short. There are very few, and the games are 2 hours tops. And there's a good rhythms there. I love that part of it. And it will never happen in the NBA.
They have to make some rule changes because
it's too much money. They have to have the breaks to have the money to have the ads.
Yeah, but how about to speed up the game? Like I think like the G League experimented with 2-for-1 on free throws. I think that's a good idea. Especially like if it's not the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter.
Well, if you make the first one, you get 2 points.
If you miss the first one, you get 0.
That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, baseball's doing it right now. I went to a minor league baseball game while I was away in Florida, where they have a 15-second clock and then a 20-second clock if there's a man on base. I got to tell you, that was really good. Like, there was a really good flow, and the game was going nicely. I really think that was important. So yes, if they could figure that out, and I guess it could even just be shaving seconds off of those timeouts somehow could be something. And I feel like they tried doing that. You didn't have a lot of time to, like, when they're inbounding the ball, they try to trim around there, which could add up eventually. So we have another super chat though. This one's from, I believe, England, right? That's the pound symbols. Thank you so much, from Marek Keska. What are some of the biggest problems in today's basketball? Wow. That's a great question. You want to jump on that one?
Yeah. The biggest problem in today's basketball is that many people think when they get on the basketball court, how do I get my shots up, instead of how do we get up the best shot possible?
Okay. So it's a player's mindset issue is what you have.
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody just wants to get shots up, and they're not trying to get their team the best shot. Who do we get the ball to? Who has the mismatch? Who is our best player? Who is great in this situation that we're currently in on the court?
Well, who would you say is responsible for that to fix that?
Whoa. Coaches on the grassroots level?
I mean, coaches, period, right? That's sort of the job, to have the players understand what a good shot is, what good offense is, what good defense is. I mean, in theory, that is the failing there. I'll probably go another step and just sort of say that I think we're still, not training well enough across the board. I still think that there's enough residual nonsense that we had, been teaching for, the first 100 years of the game that are still hanging around.
Look, man, I'm the biggest gym rat you'll ever know, but I would also say there's a problem with overtraining. I think some players aren't playing their sport enough, and they're becoming skill development robots.
No, you think they're playing their sport too much?
No, I don't think they're playing their sport enough, And I think they're doing too many drills, too much skill development, and not balancing that with playing their sport enough.
Oh, I see. To me, when you said overtraining, to me it's just like you're just playing too much. But and then on the flip side, I'm thinking, well, should they be playing other sports as well in that development?
I mean, there is studies to your point that there's a bigger chance for overuse injuries if you're only playing one sport. Look, I was I played some little league baseball and some soccer, but I was really a basketball guy. But I just feel like I also played a lot of basketball while I was working on my game, and a lot of kids just want to work on their game and not play.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, right. When I was growing up, the games were the thing. We wanted to play whatever kind of version of pickup or organize whatever we could do. We didn't have a lot of that individual drill stuff, amazingly enough. And as a result, I never developed my handle well enough to my liking because there just wasn't the right kind of training. And what I was doing and trying a lot of I would never do with anybody anymore because it doesn't work. So yeah, I think that, we're moving somewhere, and I think people are now kind of grasping a little bit more how to do this, at least on the training level. I think we're getting better with that because again, you don't need to, like for me, if I'm helping a guy shoot better, we don't need to shoot 500 shots every day or whatever people say. Hoppla just came out there and said, you got to make 500 shots. And I kind of me and a bunch of the guys are just chuckling at that. That's overuse. That's some why you had to make 500 shots back in the day? Because the coaching was so bad, and the guys that taught that were the old way to teaching shooting. You had to shoot on your own, which is what you'd be doing to make 500 a day, and that's where you finally got away from the bad coaching and actually became a better shooter. So and meanwhile, if you were a better coach and you knew how to teach that better, you could do it in 100 shots, not 500. It's insane. Anyway,
I think balance is the key, right? Like you said, you needed that skill development in your own game to learn how to handle the basketball, which is absolutely true. But, if you're only playing and not doing enough skill development, you should be working on that. If you're doing a lot of skill development and playing a lot, you might need to hit the weights as well and work on your physical development. It's just basketball is almost like when you're working with a player, it's almost like a diagnosis. Like, what does he need? Where's his balance? Where could he fill the gap? Right. So that's what it's all about to me. You need to balance all these things in the right way. And a lot of kids don't have the right guidance. Right. So it's hard to self-diagnose yourself.
Oh, and I got it. Somebody was yelling at me on Twitter today, another coach, because I made the mistake of replying to somebody who just they're going to read Bobby Knight's book here. The Power of Negative Thinking, an Unconventional Approach to Achieving Positive Results. And I remember looking at this. This is not a new book from Bobby Knight. This is a while back. And I remember looking into it and sort of reading excerpts and getting a handle on what it was. It felt a little bit like a troll job where he's just like, you new agey people who want to be positive coaches, that doesn't work. You got to, break them down and all this bullshit. And so, some guy wanted to push back and say, have you read it? Or are you just cherry picking to fit some sort of narrative? I mean, there's nobody who's more familiar with how Bobby Knight coached and the methods he used than I am. And I know that book deals with defending that point of view, and it's nonsense. So maybe I'll even get it and I'll read through it and I'll see what it says on a micro level. But the effect you can have. I even tweeted that the other day. I said, there are people that say, you got to tell the players what they need to hear, right? Or sometimes you got to do that, but it's a fine line between doing that and destroying a player's confidence to the point where they don't ever perform the way they could. And that's a real frustrating notion because the coaches that feel like they have to tell the players the things they don't want to hear don't know how to properly convey that information to make it constructive. And that's the interesting thing about that.
Yeah, man. I mean, I played for some pretty out there coaches of maybe the Bobby Knight elk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, like all kinds of crazy stuff I've seen coaches do. And no, it probably wasn't the best. So I agree with you.
Right. And, we're trying to optimize. We're trying to get you the best out of you. And if that's really the goal, then you don't do what Bobby Knight did. Now, let me make it clear. The way Bobby Knight teams played was exactly the way you're supposed to play basketball. They played basketball the right way. Like they really were impressive in that sense. But that doesn't mean that what he was doing with the mental torture it was justified. Not at all. You could easily have gotten that from teaching a radically different way, and probably even more. And he won a couple of titles, but there were moments 2, or maybe he might have gotten to 3. But he engendered so much ill will from his players that it's like I don't think it ends up being worth it. And he might have been like, I don't care. They're not supposed to like me, all that kind of stuff. But like at some point when you're getting run out of your job and you're getting fired multiple times because you can't behave, that is a reflection, and that should go negatively on your record. We have another super chat. There's actually not a question, but Santos just wanted to, I guess, give us a little high five. So thank you so much, Santos, for that. I really appreciate that. That's very nice of you. And if you have a question, maybe throw it in there, and we'll try and find it in the comments. But
I gave him the prayer hands. It's an emoji,
Yes, absolutely. Okay. By the way, if you're not following me on Twitter, you get more of a stream of consciousness of what I'm thinking and what I'm saying, from 1 minute to the next. So somebody wanted to ask, Huggable Cat wanted to ask if I'd seen the new Ted Lasso. So we talked about Ted Lasso, I think, before. I had been in the coaching clinic where I literally said, I will Venmo you $20 each, whoever reaches out to me, so you can get Apple TV Plus for a month and watch all the Ted Lassos. I think it's that good. Very, very excited. It was like 10 o'clock at night, so it wasn't the 15th yet for me on the West Coast, but yet all of a sudden, and what we did was we watched the last 5 or 6 episodes from season 2 just to kind of get ready last night. And then all of a sudden, after the last one of season 2, season 3 just started playing. It was amazing. And I tweeted it. I was very, very excited. So I did watch it. I think it's, I'm a little bit, they're kind of, do you watch Ted Lasso at all?
I have no idea what that is.
You have no idea what it is even? You don't even know, like, the name Ted Lasso doesn't mean anything to you? Oh.
Maybe I'm in a basketball bubble.
Combo. Okay, Ted Lasso is a fictional character played by Jason Sudeikis, who you probably don't know who that is either, right?
No idea.
So Jason Sudeikis was a cast member on Saturday Night Live. Really hilarious.
If he was on Saturday Night Live, maybe by face.
Yeah, you would probably recognize him because he's in everything and he's hilarious.
What years was he on Saturday Night Live? What
years and years and years? He played. He did a really good version of a Joe Biden, but I'm trying to think of like the Will Ferrell style stuff he would do. I know. Did you ever watch What's Up with That? That recurring show they would have on Saturday Night Live. What's Up with That? And then Keegan would sing the song, "Ooh wee, what's up with that?" Oh my God! Anyway,
the one I remember is I remember the Bears. I remember that. I remember I remember the guy that was like, "You're tall enough. You're good enough."
Oh, and he's like the 90s, man. Like that's so old. But Sudeikis is more recent. And anyway,
Coach Nick is calling me old.
Yeah, Sudeikis is hilarious. He didn't even speak in that runner of a sketch. He'd be wearing a red Adidas tracksuit and doing like the running man in the background. It just was hilarious for no reason.
Was Good Burger started Saturday Night Live? This is Good Burger.
I don't think
Burger.
so.
No, that was Nickelodeon. That was Nickelodeon. Yeah, that was Nickelodeon.
Anyway, so Ted Lasso was a series of commercials they did. They invented this character as a soccer. Oh, you know what? I don't even remember maybe he was a football coach. And they did a series for like, oh boy, someone might tell me in the comments what it was for, like Nike or whatever. Maybe it was Nike. And they're really funny commercials. So someone's like, hey, you should make that into a TV show. And so they created this TV show where this guy was a small town, small college football coach who gets hired to coach a soccer team in the Premier League in England. And, having no idea what it was. And we find out that the owner, it was a new owner who took over from her ex-husband, who wanted to sink the club into the mud and have be terrible. A little bit like Major League. Did you ever see that movie, Major League?
Yes.
So a little bit like that, right? Where they wanted the team to lose and be terrible. But it turns out Ted Lasso is a great coach. He had a little good support system with him, with the assistants, and they played way beyond their abilities because Ted was that positive coaching guy that I espouse now. And it was amazing to watch because, listen, when you're writing a script, you can force whatever result you want from whatever interaction you're writing the dialogue, right? But I know that behaving the way he does works, and you get that reaction, you get those results anyway. So it was just great to be able to watch it unfold, and hopefully it continues to inspire more and more coaches to be that way, because he's really funny, he's really positive. You know what I mean? He knows how to channel the energy into a team to get them to play above their heads, and that's really what you want.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, there was a time period where coaches, and I think it was maybe like the 80s and the 90s where it really got crazy with coaches, right? it kind of hit a tipping point, and now we're back. But part of it is that player mobility changed some of this, right? Like the transfer portal in college, the way players move around in the NBA. So you can't really treat players too harshly, or they'll just leave.
Right. And it was funny because even when I was coaching the high school level, listen, if a kid didn't want to be there, I didn't want him to be there. You know what I mean? Listen, please go if you don't want to be, a part of our team. So my focus was I wanted to create an environment so good that no one would want to leave. I'm not there to be their friend. We're not going to be whatever, but I wanted to make it where they knew they were getting the best training. They were getting the best environment to improve their own games and be part of a team that's going to play like a team and learn how to play on both ends. And have that trust that that's what was happening with them. That's what I wanted to create. And I didn't have nobody left. So that I think that's a good example of that. But that should be the focus. It's not like I'm so mad, God damn it. Why, these people are allowed to transfer. It's too easy. You should just focus on what you can control, which is making the program as good as you possibly can so people don't want to leave. That was my take.
I agree.
People are talking a little bit about, and we could talk about this to wrap up, I guess. Have you noticed what James Wiseman's doing on the court these days?
I have. I texted you.
Well, yeah, but they don't know that.
He's playing well. He's playing well.
What? He's been playing very nicely. He's been getting a lot of starts and he's been getting a lot of minutes. And so if you look at, let's look at.
But Coach, we also do have to shed light on Jabari Smith Jr. is playing better and Evan Mobley. All those guys are playing better.
Is Evan Mobley playing better? I feel like he wasn't. Am I? Did I forget that?
I think he has been lately, and definitely Jabari Smith. He played really well against the Celtics, and they won.
Okay. Well, I'm looking up.
It's funny. It's interesting. Like I put up this Brandon Miller tweet on Instagram, and somebody said, and they don't even play the same position. They don't even play the same position, so it doesn't make sense. He's like, hopefully he turns out better than Jabari Smith. And I wasn't even the biggest Jabari Smith guy, but how do you say turns out when a guy hasn't even finished his rookie year yet?
I agree. You know
what I mean?
We have to be a lot more patient. Wiseman is a great example of that too. I mean, the guy, they want to get him off. So in the last 12 games, he started them all, I believe. Yeah. And then he's averaging 13 points, shooting 54.4% from the field. He's actually taking almost 1 3 a game. He's not hitting them, but he's sneaking one in there. And let's see, and 1.2 blocks in 26 minutes, very robust numbers, and 9 rebounds a game. That was what, I figured he could have done that in Golden State. Sorry to burst that bubble, but he easily could have done that. And I just don't understand exactly why they couldn't see it. But, this is a good springboard for him to go from 13-9 and 26 minutes to 18 and 11 with 32 minutes a game and feeling more comfortable in the team, and really being a solid player at that position, like a better version of Capella.
Yeah, it goes back to the opportunity conversation we had earlier, right? Like if you put a lot of NBA players in the right situation, they're going to flourish. And I'm just happy to see that he's getting playing time and that he's playing well because it is a good sign. Yeah,
I got the. You know what? I haven't gotten a chance to watch the Cleveland Cavaliers in a little bit. So, but okay. Well, let's look at Evan Mobley's last 12 games. He's at 18.7 points a game, and shooting 53%, which is great to see. He's not hitting threes well. He's taking a couple a game, and then 8.8 rebounds. He's getting a lot more minutes. Like if we want to compare to Wiseman, which we shouldn't, but 34.
Yeah, we shouldn't. But I think those are pretty good numbers, especially like the Cavs aren't a bad team.
Yeah, and then 1.3 blocks. Someone wanted to sort of argue that that like Evan Mobley is the anchor of the defense, and I don't know. I mean,
him and Jared Allen. Jared Allen does a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, I probably would still say that Allen is still like the anchor. Although, what is an anchor of a defense? What is MVP? There's a lot of sort of questions we have. We didn't even get into that yet. I got to do a video on that because the pushback, if we can do 2 minutes on this, the pushback on Jokic has been pretty severe. And it's not just like the fatigue of like, well, he's won 2 in a row already, but he's played better. His team's better. This is the year he deserves it.
So here's my thing. When people say that if he wins 3, he has to win a championship. He has to. And I'm just thinking, like, isn't this a regular season award? What does that have to do with anything? Him winning championships?
Oh, I agree. It is. It is. Well, it's a regular season award, but we don't know what is it supposed to reward. Is it the most valuable player to his specific team? Is it the guy who had the best season offensively than anybody else? It's unclear to me. I'm not sure we've ever even gotten an answer for the voters of what they want to feel like it is. I always felt like, in my mind, you probably should have a lot of wins. You should be in the top 2 or 3 in the conference to win that award, regular season, of course. But by the way, like the other thing, and I got in trouble when I was talking about Giannis, and then Shaq is in the same, is really the root of this argument was, it's hard for me to understand how you could be the MVP of the league if you never get the ball play called for you at the end of the game to win the game for your team. Now, Shaq never did that because they were going to foul him and they didn't want to shoot the free throws. Giannis was like that. Giannis, you'd see Middleton running it. Now, it's a little bit different now, and Giannis is definitely doing it more. Thank goodness. It's great to see. But there are times, and I have a feeling when we get into the playoffs, we're going to see Middleton with the ball and Giannis ball screen, and he'll roll, and maybe they'll lob it to him or whatever. That just fascinates me that he's not that guy in the last possession who they're going to give it to and say, create the shot for us to win it.
Yeah, Chris Middleton's definitely their closer. I think it's between Jokic and Embiid. I mean, Giannis is on a really good team, so he's in the mix as well. I still have Jokic, but the Denver hasn't been playing as well as of late, so it looks like it's trending towards Embiid right now. But I would still go with Jokic. Yeah.
Denver's lost 4 in a row. Dog days of the season. This is the area right now in the middle of March where everyone just gets really tired. They're all beat up. They kind of take plays off. So, and then I would say within about a week from now or so, that's when everything kind of starts to ramp up toward the playoffs and you start to see some really good stuff. So I expect we'll see some really good, games. Always great to see that, especially when it's time with like March Madness. And now we don't know what to look at and watch because there's too much going on. We have another super chat from King Jaffe Joffer. Thank you so much, friend of the breakdown. Wiseman is still the same guy. He's just getting minutes on a basement team. Look at the tape. I mean, okay, but Wiseman could have been getting that same stuff, and he was the first 5 games of the season with the Warriors. He was shooting 70%. He was rolling. He was getting nice roll passes and finishes and blocking a shot or two. I mean, it was really bizarre to me that overnight they decided like he couldn't do that anymore. But yeah, who is that same guy? It's a guy who runs like a gazelle at 7'2", nice touch around the rim, good hands. Hard worker, willing to work and get better and learn. Those are things that all add up to, in my mind, to be a guy who can be an all-star eventually.
Yeah, he definitely has the potential. That's for sure. I would like to see him shoot a couple more threes. It doesn't have to be like 8, but 2 or 3 would be nice.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's tough because he looks so much like a traditional center, and he plays that way, right? He really plays like the David Robinson kind of guy, pretty much. So they almost feel like, you know that there are players who simply like they're forbidden from doing that. But it looks like they're willing to do it, and it's a good situation. There's no pressure on him, so let him develop a little bit more and see. But this is not the King Jaffe. I'm sorry, but he doesn't have awful hands. And this awareness thing is kind of silly too. I feel like what I see in terms of awareness was like what he was trying to do defensively around the rim was figure out how to be able to jump and use verticality without fouling but still pressure the shot. And there were times when, the guy got right around him and he didn't want to foul and he was up and the guy just got an easy shot, instead. But what I see him is the wheel spinning in his brain, figuring out I can't, that's a little bit too extreme of a space or whatever. I got to be a little bit more aggressive. And I like that. I feel like that's the difference, but I'll watch some more tape. I've seen a little bit. I haven't seen the last few games though, but I'll go watch. I mean, I know what I'm going to see is a guy who's rolling hard to the rim and getting easy shots around there. I'll check some more of the defense. So that's what I was seeing a lot with his defense. And so, but you cannot say credibly that he's got bad hands. I don't think you can say that at all. And then he'll send me $100 super chat if my tape doesn't show hundreds of drops. Okay, great. I will go study that right now, but I've seen a lot. I've seen hundreds of his possessions this season. I don't believe it. All right. Well, what do you say? I think it's time to wrap up. It's a nice hour-long show. Games are going on. Did the March Madness start? Is it the play-ins?
Yeah. They started the play-ins. There were some good games on last night.
Already? Jeez.
Yeah. There were some close ones. There was one overtime game I was watching.
Huh. All right. Well, I gotta go see my the game of the kid I'm training tonight, 7:30. So we'll see. That's my basketball for tonight.
Sounds good. Sounds good, Coach Nick.
All right, Combo. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks everyone for being out there. Thanks for the super chats. So generous of all you guys. King Jaffe, I'll keep you in mind with the Wiseman stuff. And don't forget, sports fans, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel. We're a conversation. You in? Are you in, Combo?